All right, let's go ahead and get started. My name, of course, is Dr. Robert Green II. I'm the lead instructor for the Modjeska Simkins School of Human Rights, and I am pleased and privileged to honor and welcome everyone here to the 2023 edition of the Modjeska Simkins School of Human Rights graduation. Welcome. So whether you're joining us on Zoom or you're here with us in person in Columbia, South Carolina, please know that we all appreciate your efforts to get through the class this semester, to really learn about the history of South Carolina from a grassroots people's perspective.
Yes.
Now, of course, the timing of the graduation is a bit precipitous because the last 2 days have reminded us of just why such a school is so important. The Supreme Court of the United States has reminded us that once again, it is not on the side of the people, as is usually the case in U.S. history. Recent decisions on affirmative action, on right to sexual orientation, let's see what else bad this week that happened. There's so much to student loan, don't remind me about that one. But what we've seen the last few days is that on the one hand, the forces of power in this country often have to be pushed, if not at least nudged, in the right direction. And the Modjeska Simkins School of Human Rights reminds all of us that there's a lot of work still left to be done. But it also reminds us that a lot of work has been done.
Yeah.
The good news is that the school reminds us that we are not starting from scratch. Now, with that being said, before we get into our special message from Representative Gilda Cobb-Hunter, just a couple of quick reminders. As we move along with the program for today, I want you to keep two people in mind in your thoughts and prayers. One is Keitha Whitaker, who was a graduate of last year's class. She is unfortunately in hospice care right now. So please keep her in your thoughts and prayers. And let's also lift up Chris Cooney, who was also a graduate of the class last year, who unfortunately passed away shortly afterwards. So let's take a moment of silence for those two individuals and for anyone else who is important to you in your own lives before we get to the heart of the program. Thank you very much. Now, what we're going to do at this moment is play a short message from Representative Gilda Cobb-Hunter, who has been a tireless champion for social justice in the South Carolina State House.
Hey everybody, Gilda Cobb-Hunter here. Congratulations on being able to graduate from the only school that I'm aware of in South Carolina, the Modjeska Simkins School, that teaches you about racism, systemic racism, our history, learning from our history, the importance of it. It is quite an accomplishment. And I know if you're honest with yourself, that you will agree that you are much more informed or much better informed about our beautiful state, about how we got to where we are, and about how unfortunately we still are where we are. So congratulations on that accomplishment. Now I know that Brett and Becky have shared with you throughout the sessions that we don't expect everybody to be an organizer, but what we do expect and would appreciate as a result of all the time and energy that has gone into this is that you are at least better informed of how to be more effective in your civic engagement. Of course, as somebody who's an elected official, I hope some of y'all will give some thought to running for office, because we need progressive-minded people at whatever age to run for office here in South Carolina. We need those people at every level, not just at the State House, but at every level. So I want to encourage you to think about that. But regardless, as I said, the value, the benefit of the lessons that you've received from your weeks, your months of work with Brett and Becky and the network's Modjeska School, is just a real eye-opening experience. And so let me just suggest to you that one of the things that has been important to me, and I want to just give a plug to the South Carolina Progressive Network. There are a lot of people who over the years, and I've been around, as the young people say, I've been around for a minute. And so I've had the privilege of witnessing a number of progressive organizations come and go. The South Carolina Progressive Network is the one consistent organizing entity in our state. And so I want to encourage you to do as I do, and that is be a good ambassador for the work that the network does. We have talked, and I'm sure in a part of your lessons, there have been conversations about the inside game and the outside game, and all of that is relevant. But what you should know, and I know that you probably don't need me to tell you this, is that quite frankly, if we look at the numbers, we are not going to win many battles in the South Carolina State Legislature. Does that mean we shouldn't try? Does that mean we just take our ball and go home? That we just say, oh, what's the use? We're not going to win. We're outnumbered. I think the worst thing we can do as progressives in South Carolina is take the attitude, y'all, it don't make any difference. They are going to do what they want to do. And hopefully the work you've done and the commitment you've made to the school over these last several months will imbue in you, if you will, some stick-to-itness, some kind of intestinal fortitude that says, you know what? This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. I see the Progressive Network as the only thing that closely resembles the freedom schools and all of those things that were done. When you talk about our history and you talk about people like September Clark, and you understand the role that she played, you already know about Modjeska Simkins and the role she played. All I ask you to do is not let this training, not let all of this knowledge go to waste. I am a firm believer in the Laubach method, each one reach one. We've got a ton of work to do, y'all, and not a whole lot of us willing to do it. Welcome to the crusade. Welcome to the struggle. As they say in the movement, the struggle continues. It is so gratifying to know that we have at least almost 40 people as a result of going through this class who are able, willing, and ready to join the struggle. It's all up to you. I'm a firm believer that talk is cheap. Action speaks louder than words. Based on the knowledge that you've gotten as a result of the Progressive Network's Modjeska Simkins School, you're ready to do battle. So just do it. Thank you so much. I look forward to working with all of you. Hope you will keep the connections that you have made as a result of this class, as a result of this school. And the final pitch is, you know the value that the school has been for you. How about share that? If there are others in your community who would benefit from going through this experience, and again, it's important, y'all, because when you think about what we're doing in Columbia and in state houses around this country, talking about banning books and critical race and all of that crap that doesn't even exist in our schools, it lets you know that the job is not continued. And I know I said I was through, but you know, I'm Baptist and I'm not a preacher, but you know, Baptist people say, and finally. So I'm just going to end this with one final finally. And thank you again for what you've done, but more importantly, for what you will do. If I could ever be of help, please don't hesitate to contact me. As a social worker, the kind of social work I do is when we talk about victims of violence, we talk to victims about breaking the silence. What you've got to do and what you are really armed to do as a result of attending this school is to roll up your sleeves and get out there and dispel ignorance and myths and misconceptions. Put a thumb in your spine and just do it. Thank you so much. Much appreciated. Bye.
And since Representative Gilda Cobb-Hunter said that she was Baptist, I have to also mention at the end of that, I feel like I have to say the doors of the Progressive Network are open. But what we're gonna, some of you guys, but what we're gonna do now is get into the part of the matter today, which is to hand out diplomas. I know that many of you have been looking forward to this for some time. And how this is gonna work is we're gonna invite folks who are here to come up and get your diploma. And if you're here or if you're on Zoom, you'll have roughly 3 minutes or so to talk about what you've learned in the class and your experiences in the Modjeska School session this year. And again, I want to stress no more than 3 minutes.
Dr. Gray, we may want to ask Trevor, who's stuck in traffic there, if he would want to wait till he gets here and skip him because he's right in the front. We don't want him to have a crash on I-26.
Okay, Trevor, is that fine with you?
We'll take that as a
Okay,
yes.
we'll take.
That's fine with me, but I'm just sitting. I don't think we're going to move for a while, so there's no chance of me wrecking because I'm in park on I-26.
Well, if you want to wait, we're going to be here for 2 hours, and surely you'll make it. By then you can get out and walk.
Well, I know right now it's saying we won't get there until about 6:22, so I don't know what's going on.
Let Trevor speak.
Some snacks.
Well, let's go ahead and start the festivities. Actually, I want to start first with Joyce Argo, who's on the screen here on Zoom. And Joyce, we do have your diploma here as well, so you will be receiving one. But Joyce, could you please tell us a little bit about your experiences in the Modjeska Simkins School of Human Rights this semester?
Afternoon. I am Joyce Argo. Good afternoon to everyone. Dr. Green, I cannot see anything. My screen is black. I can hear you, but I can't see you. My experience has been a very good one. I have learned some things that I did not know as a native South Carolinian. I have learned some things that I will be able to share with my students because I am a public school elementary teacher. And I am just elated that I was able to be a part of this class and take what I have learned and not only share it with my students, but share it with my fellow colleagues, as I am a member of the South Carolina Education Association, which is for public school employees, teachers, and educators. So I will be able to share that with them as well as with my sorority sisters, because I am a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. So I will be able to share that with them as well. I often spoke about the fact that I currently reside in Rock Hill, South Carolina. However, I am a native of Orangeburg, South Carolina. So I am very familiar with the Orangeburg Massacre and with the little ice cream shop that you are speaking of that has that Confederate flag still flying. So, and I know who Gilda Cobb-Hunter is, because she is from Orangeburg. So I believe in all that she has said. And as a veteran educator, I believe that it is very crucial that our children know the history of the state in which we reside and the shoulders for which they stand upon. I want to publicly say thank you to Brett, who is ensuring that the Modjeska Simkins School continues with the legacy that has been built. And I want to thank you publicly, Dr. Green, for all that you are doing to ensure that it also continues. And to Becky for writing the book that I look forward to reading. Unfortunately, I am unable to be there in Columbia on today. And so that is why I am coming to you via Zoom. But I want to thank you again, and I look forward to getting into good trouble as I decide which of these activities that were presented that I am going to become a part of. Thank you so much.
Thank you. That was great. We're gonna have to use that for our session next year to recruit some new students. But thank you so much for that, Joyce. I apologize that you can't see me, although I have been told I have both a voice and a face for radio. So there you go. Up next, we're going to go to, I thought I saw him a moment ago, Russell Bannon. Russell Bannon, is he here? Okay, we're gonna go get Russell right now. Now, Russell Bannon is actually a graduate of the 2022 edition of the Modjeska Simkins School, which it indicates here on his diploma. We made sure to note that because last year he was a bit bummed to not get his diploma. So we have his diploma for last year's class this year. Russell, as you may know, was heavily involved in, or is currently heavily involved in a lot of union organizing in Columbia, South Carolina, and throughout the state. He's been very busy with that as well.
And he's still very busy, and he says, skip him and he'll do it later.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, we'll come back to Russell and later on in the class session. So up next is Trevor Barton, one of the men of the hour, who is unfortunately stuck in traffic. So Trevor, tell us a bit about what you learned in the class this semester.
Well, hi, everybody. I really have enjoyed this semester. I'm a fourth grade teacher here in Greenville, South Carolina. And so I've learned a lot that I can share with my students to help them know the whole history of South Carolina. The thing that I've been thinking about is the movie 42. I'm a big fan of baseball history and a big fan of Jackie Robinson, and I love that movie. And I love the way Chadwick Boseman portrayed Jackie Robinson, and I love the cinematography that helps you feel like you are right there in so much of the movie. And it really made me think about what we're up against when Jackie Robinson was at bat and the coach for the Philadelphia Phillies, Ben Chapman, was just giving him up and down about being the first African-American baseball player in the major leagues. So I was really moved by that story. But I think the thing I learned the most and that moved me the most about the story was Wendell Smith, who I did not know. He was the journalist who followed Jackie around for the whole season and wrote about his life. And I've been doing a deep dive study of him. And apparently in 1933, he threw a no-hitter as a 19-year-old in his American Legion baseball team in Detroit, Michigan. And after it was over, a scout for the Detroit Tigers came up and said, you know, I'm scouting you and I would ask you to try out for Detroit, but as an African-American male, you cannot play in the major leagues. And so because of that, he decided to go to school to become a journalist. And in 1937, he started working for the Pittsburgh Courier, and he worked tirelessly for years and years writing about the integration of baseball. And finally, in 1947, he got to see the fruit of his labor. And this class has reminded me that just like Wendell Smith, we work tirelessly to try to bring progressive causes to light in South Carolina. And we might not see the result of it for a long time, but if we keep on trying and we keep on working together, there's hope that we'll get there. So I appreciate all of you, and I appreciate that we're working together for those goals.
Thank you for that story, Trevor. That was really important to note. Actually, what's funny is I teach a course on sport history at Claflin. So a lot of the material you just mentioned, I actually go over it in my class. So thank you so much for that, Trevor. Again, we were glad to have you as part of the class this semester. All right, up next is Hannah Bauer. Hannah Bauer, please join. Now, if you're here in person, how we're going to do it is you come up to the podium, make sure to speak into the microphone because it only picks up so much volume, and we'll hand you your diploma up here. So, Hannah Bauer.
Hi. I was not ready to say anything. So I guess I just want to start out by thanking all of you, Brett and Dr. Green, but all of you for the really amazing conversations. I feel honored to learn alongside you, but also from all of you. So it's been an amazing semester. And I know that we're all obviously angry at how things are all the time in the class, points out how we got here and brings up a lot of those emotions. But I saw something recently that talked about how anger is normally seen as a very negative emotion, but it's really hope for something better, because we can imagine how things should be, and we're frustrated that they aren't that way. And so I think we're all angry but hopeful, and that's my big takeaway. And I'm ready to do more things. And so yeah. Thank you.
All right, up next is Alice Broadway. Please come on up to the front.
Actually, I'm very happy to be here as well, and very pleased and able to participate in this course of study. I would like to say that I knew Ms. Modjeska Simkins years and years and years ago when she was alive, when she was quite a fireball. Also knew Brett Bursey when he was about 19 years old at the University of South Carolina, marching, demonstrating, speaking truth to power, and being a revolutionary. And
We can't hear you back here. Speak in the mic.
Okay,
Is it on?
it's on.
Close to that one.
Oh, really? Well, did anybody hear anything I said?
Very on.
Good, good. Okay, so it just seems that the more things change, the more they remain the same.
Yeah.
So we have been exposed to a lot of historical information, South Carolina history, that we perhaps were unaware of. We experienced some of these things, so we knew intuitively what was happening, but we didn't have the facts and the information. Now we do. So that's important. The Supreme Court case the other day, decision about not using race. They had one thing right. We should not use race because that is absurd. That is a social construct. It has no basis in fact. There are not many human races. There is one human race, and I think we all know that. Yet we continue the misinformation by using it and letting other people use it and say there's a brown race, there's a black race, there's a white race. Those are not races, those are colors, people. So please, let's stop this stupidity and tell people there's only one race, Homo sapiens, one race, one human race. So that's one thing the Supreme Court got right. But other than that, it is absurd to continue the ridiculousness that is perpetuated every day. So one thing we learn in this Modjeska Simkins School, if you think about all the information you have opportunities every day to refute stereotypes and misinformation. And just suggest to people, well, you might want to read Justice Deferred, or you might want to take a course at the Modjeska Simkins School. You know, you don't have to preach to them, but just suggest where they might change their minds about some of the stereotypes and misinformation that we had previously. So one way that we can help, because everybody's not going to go out marching and demonstrating and joining causes. I for one cannot, because I'm too. Yeah. But so I will contribute, and we can contribute. This South Carolina Progressive Network is a charitable organization, and it needs support, financial support. So that's one way that we all, you know, you can also talk to people in your beauty shops, barbershops, supermarkets, wherever people have discussions and inform them. So that's about it. Thank you.
All right, up next, going back to Zoom land for a moment, is Della Clark. Della Clark, please go ahead and say a few words about your experience in the school.
Hello, everyone. Let me start by saying I've really enjoyed the course. Dr. Green and all the speakers have just been awesome. I came into this course thinking I knew a lot about South Carolina history, only to learn that I knew very little of the true history. And I'm hoping to take what I've learned back into my high school classroom and motivate my students to let's get out and see what changes we can make. But it's definitely been a season of growth, and I really appreciate the opportunity that you all have given me to partake in this course.
Thank you so much for those kind words. Let's go ahead next to Penny Kaufman.
Good afternoon, y'all. This was an awesome couple of weeks. I mean, seriously. I'm Penny Cothran. Until recently, I worked for a big green organization and focused on organizing here in South Carolina, and learned a lot while I was there, but boy, did I learn even more while I was here. Organizing is the way I lick my wounds when I feel like we've lost the battle. It feels good to me to meet people in the streets, as they say. And boy, have we had a lot to deal with lately. But I'm hoping it's just the death rattles of white supremacy that we're experiencing right now. And it's, you know, if you talk to people, and I hear a rumor we might be getting a t-shirt tonight. I'll be proudly wearing my t-shirt, and hopefully people will be, I don't know, maybe that rumor was not true, but I'll be proudly wearing my t-shirt, and hopefully people will stop me and say, who is Modjeska Simkins? What is this? What's going on here? And I'll get to tell them everything that I learned here and tell them why it's important to us here in South Carolina. But just a little praise on this class and this school. I had the wonderful opportunity to learn under Marshall Gins, who teaches at the Kennedy Center in Harvard. And he organized alongside Cesar Chavez. And then I had the opportunity to learn here, and guess which course I appreciated more than degree. This one was so much better. Thank you all for the opportunity to learn from each of you, and thank you to our course leader. Thank you.
Go, Penny, go.
Now, there are a few people who either haven't made it here yet, or maybe won't make it at all this evening, and won't call names in class, but there is one person I wanted to mention before we keep going on, which is Candace Dorr. Is Candace here?
No, Candace is Zoom.
Is,
Supposed to be, but she's not with us.
okay, so Candace hasn't made it on Zoom yet, but I want to tell her story very quickly. So Candace was going to join the class, and right before the class began, I believe the day before, she gave birth to her child. That may come into class a bit more difficult than it normally would be, but she has been a tireless champion in the class. She's been working with the Gullah Farmers Co-op on St. Helena Island, but she's been able to keep up with the class, and hopefully she'll be able to join us on Zoom before we're done this evening. But in case she doesn't, I wanted to really lift up Candace Dorr's story, because I think each and every student in the class has their own unique story of why they're taking the class, what brought them to the class, and the trials and tribulations they've experienced while the class has gone on. So I do want to say once again, I really appreciate all of you being able to come to the class, finish the class. And again, we're gonna talk more about that as we go forward. All right, up next is Anson Foster. Anson Foster, come on up, please.
All right, can you all hear me? Yeah. Okay, very good. Well, yes, I think it's a beautiful thing to see you all here, and to know that we've gone through the several weeks and months together, learning not just about our setbacks, but about the advances that we made, not just about the defeats that we suffered, but the victories that we've won. And to know that even today, as we are suffering setbacks and defeats and counterattacks and counter assault from this reactionary Supreme Court, as we've just seen, that's on a rampage and it's not stopping anytime soon, is that, you know, every single victory, every single progressive advance that we've won in this country, that working people, that oppressed people have won, has been through struggle. It has been through fighting for it. And so no court gave us abortion rights. No court gave us voting rights and civil rights. No court gave us LGBTQ rights. The people have always organized and fought and stood up for it. And so as they are trying to strip this away from us, we have to, and I hope we have all taken away from this course, that if we ever hope to win these rights that we have once and for all, and to secure them, and to win democracy, not just a phony democracy of the rich, but a real true people's democracy, not just a false justice of the courts, but a true justice that comes, as Rose Pierre said, like a thunderbolt from the people, that we must fight to not only defend democracy, but to expand it. And I hope we're all equipped with some weapons to do that, which is the knowledge and the organization that we've taken from this course. So I will say, we'll see you out in the streets July 12th for workers' rights at the State House, 11 a.m. and all the other mobilizations and organizing that we're going to be doing this year, this summer, and going forward. So yeah, power to the people.
July 12th?
July 12th, State House,
Your time.
11 a.m.
Thank you.
All right, again, that was July 12th, 11 a.m. Be there or be square. All right, after anyone who mentions Robespierre in their speech, I don't know how to follow it up, so I'll just hand the floor over next to Herb Frazier. Herb Frazier, come on up, please.
Hello, everyone. It's very good to be here to see in person some of the faces I saw in the little screen. And the reason why I'm here is because Brett twisted my arm. He said if I didn't show up, come to the class, he was coming to Charleston to get me. I didn't want that to happen. I've known him off and on since we were students at USC, when he was a really, really important figure on campus, standing up for important issues. And it's a pleasure to meet you, sir. And I really, really enjoyed the classes. I've been a journalist since 1972, when I took my first job at the state newspaper. I'm sorry, the Post and Courier, and then later the State, and then later the Charlotte Observer. So from that standpoint, I've written about a lot of the subjects that were covered in the school. And when I was a reporter at the State with my friend Dan Lackey there, many times had to come over to Mrs. Simpkins' house and interview her for whatever topic was in the news at the moment. And you had to you had to be prepared, because she was gonna tell you that your question, if it wasn't a good question, is a dumb question. So I didn't want that to happen. So you had to do your homework. From that standpoint, I thought I knew South Carolina. I know South Carolina, but I know it a lot better now as a result of the wisdom that this school has given me. It has also armed me with a fortitude to continue to pick up additional topics that I need to write about in the book projects I'm currently engaged with, and also the stories I'm currently writing for the Charleston City paper. So for that reason, we will be in touch, and we will try to put in on the pages of that newspaper some of the things, current issues, topics that are here. And so finally, thank you. And I will wear that T-shirt. We are getting the T-shirt. That's one here. I will wear that T-shirt proudly.
I suspect that if we don't get T-shirts, then there may be some revolution in this building. So you will get your T-shirt. Don't worry. Up next is Denise Grant.
Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. I really thoroughly enjoyed this class and this school. It's really given me a lot of great information. It's been a pleasure and a blessing. It's been very enlightening. It's helped me gain a deeper understanding about our Black history and how it connects the dots from where our history started in Africa and through slavery and through the civil rights era and where we are here today. And I would definitely do my part, continue doing my part by keeping Black history alive. I also want to say that I am a small business owner of Joyride Tours in Newberry. So Joyride is eco-friendly tourism that provides convenience and entertainment. We do several historical tours, sightseeing excursions, and shuttling for special events. So if you guys are ever in Newberry and want to learn a little bit history about our city, please look me up. I have some rack cards information available for anyone who wants one, but this has just been awesome. I've learned a lot, and I definitely will continue to keep Black history alive by sharing it through my tours and continue to teach it through to my kids and to younger generations. And also, guys, I just want to say this and the reason why I started doing Joyride is because, sometimes people live in a city or a place their whole entire life, and they can't tell you a significant historical fact about the place they work, sleep, and play. And I think that we're trying to change that status quo. It's very important for people to know something about the place that they live that helps shape the culture. And so I really thank you, Dr. Green, Mr. Bursey, Rebecca. I thoroughly enjoyed, and I hope you guys keep this going for generations and generations to come. Thank you.
All right. Up next,
Kim Goslin.
Kim Goslin. Oh, please come on up. Kim Goslin.
As I read the email that we had to say something, I didn't know what I could say to anybody, but I am a nomad. And I did not know about South Carolina hardly at all before I sat in this class. So I'm from California right now, and so it's been very humbling. And when Joyce, who seems to have disappeared, said something about trouble, I thought of Sister Simone's quote, which is, "Justice runs towards trouble." And justice also runs toward community. And so it felt right to me to seek out community, even though I wasn't of you, I wasn't one of you, I didn't grow up here. I think we all can lend each other energy, hope, perspective, courage, care, love, strength. So that's what I intend to keep doing. And the strength that I've seen in the room and the strength that I've seen in the instruction has been humbling and enlightening. So keep this gratitude.
All right, let's go ahead and welcome up to the podium, Betty Jean Hines. Betty Jean?
I don't like Betty Jean, but that's my name though. I'm not a good public speaker, but I'm usually one of those people you see sitting somewhere quiet. And I work real hard behind the scenes. That's the kind of person I am, but I am a good worker when it comes to getting things done. I'm thinking that. But I have enjoyed this school. I mean, I think that's something you see people make different things. And I have a lot of respect for the people that have been here a lot of years, because that's because they get some respect, a lot of respect for making sure that we learned what we did learn. And for the fact that we're trying to continue to promote what Ms. Simpkins is wanting to do. Now, I talk fast, I'm understanding, because I'm somewhere between Anson doing this and Heather getting angry. So this is why I say that, because yes, because yesterday with all the things that going on this week with the Supreme Court in Congress, I mean, I watch MSNBC all the time and CNN. So I'm on there looking for different opinions and things that's going on in the news, and I keep up. So my emotions are going all over the place, you know. But the thing that I really like is the fact that I have some background. This school gave me some background for why things may be happening now, because they have many beliefs. I appreciate that. I have something to connect it with. You know, all things are happening back in the 1700s when African Americans came over and started getting organized. After all, but anyway, and then after getting in the 60s when we had all the riots going on, and all the different activities and shenanigans that happened with the Republican Party. I have to say that in trouble. But anyway, so I have something to look back on and say, now I see why they did that. Now I see who did that. Oh, somebody did that in the past, and that means sort of connected. I appreciate that. That I have some historical information to let me know that it's happened before. It's not going to go away. We got to work hard. But that's something we're very well known to do. We have to continue working. And that's why I want to sort of work with the Missing Voter Project. I think I'll be better working there and energizing people, getting information out for people, educating people. That's what I really want to do. So thank you for the support I've got here. I don't tell you, this is not my last time coming here. I plan to be involved here as much as possible. So thank you so much for the board.
Right, up next is Calvinia Hudson.
Hello, I've enjoyed my time here. As most of you know, I'm not from the South, so I'm in the Midwest. And I know a lot about Black history in Kansas. And I lived in Iowa. So I've learned a lot about South Carolina. Doing my family history, we found out that my ancestors came here as slaves in South Carolina. And they stayed and then they moved to Louisiana with their slave master. He moved them all to Louisiana. So after finding that out, I wouldn't know more about South Carolina. So I've learned a lot. I've enjoyed coming to help rent early because I work down the street. And I've been helping them put out the food and everything. And I've enjoyed everybody in the class. Thank you very much.
Probably feeling more forceful, giving that diploma and holding on to their other hands.
All right, up next is Janet Jackson. Janet Jackson.
Hello, everyone. My name is Janan Jackson. This won't stick on here, so. I just want to say I have appreciated all the information that you have shared, the discussions and all that good stuff. It reminded me of the things that I used to hear. I grew up with my grandparents and their siblings and all that good stuff. And I heard a lot of these stories before. My grandmother being from Beaufort, South Carolina, and my grandfather being from a little teeny tiny town from called Milford, Texas, which is outside of little teeny tiny place outside of San Antonio. But a lot of the stories that you all shared, as well as my graduate studies, interviewing some of my very seasoned retired Black teachers in Beaufort, South Carolina. But anyway, long story short, I enjoyed it. Thank you for the opportunity.
All right. Come on up, Valerie Jackson.
Hello.
Hello.
Okay. I'm Valerie Jackson, and I got excited about this school during my interview because at that time, I was interviewed by a fellow Beaufort High School graduate. You. And so what ended up happening was that the excitement just grew from that point. And in every class, I became more and more excited and I learned more and more. One of the things about growing up in Beaufort, South Carolina, is the fact that when I was a child, we really didn't talk about the history of Beaufort. I had experiences. I mean, I remember seeing the KKK marching down Bay Street, you know? I remember seeing a lot of things. And then Penn Center was there. And we talked about Penn Center in the class. And I volunteered at Penn Center for over 20 years. Pre-COVID, okay? COVID put us forward a lot of things. But I get excited. You know, I graduated, well, not graduated, but attended Robert Smalls Elementary School and Robert Smalls Junior High School.
Yeah.
But even there, I did not learn the history that I learned in this class.
Wow.
I appreciate and value everything that I gained. Thank you so very much.
Up next is Daniel Lackey.
Come on down, Dan. I pulled him out of reclusiveness.
You can't know how grateful I am that I was called to the mic. I have wanted to give a talk for many years, and nobody has asked me. I have also wanted to recite this spoken word poem for many years, and nobody has asked me. I used to be the man with the most pencils, but now I am not. I used to have 150 of those suckers standing all straight and tall and yellow, shining sharp, and 2 or 3 coffee mugs on this little round table I got in my office at the college. Guy came and said, "Hey, man, but I borrow a pencil." I say, "Sure, brother. Hey, take 2." Oh, as I used to be the man with the most pencils. But now, I'm not. I'm very grateful to you. I'll say this very quickly. I was introduced as Dan Lackey. Actually, Brett, my name is Daniel Berkaya. That's not really true, but the reason why I'm here is you might think I love my last name, Daniel, interpreter of signs, great biblical hero. But the last name is, like if your name is John, it doesn't mean you're it goes to hookers, but you hear Brett likes to use this word lackey, right? Corporate lackey. He's a corporate lackey. So actually, the reason I'm here is Brett thought I was another lackey. He was accustomed to us insulting, and he insulted me. And then he realized that I wasn't that lackey, and so he called me personally. And he'd long been a hero of mine, so we had a great talk. So. One real quick thing, because I know it's 3 minutes. Last time you were talking about statues, and I've always wanted to be a docent, one of those people who knows everything and talk about things. I thought, no, that's great. I can be a docent down here and trash the statues. So, before you think about don't knock the statues over, keep them there, and then go up and trash them down. All right, thank you very much. I'm very glad. Thank you.
Okay, up next on our list of graduates is Etta Lennon.
Good afternoon. Thank y'all for clapping for me. For coming up, because I didn't know either that we had to say something today, but I'm happy to say something because I'm so thankful and so grateful for this class. I want to thank you, Dr. Green, and I want to thank you, Brett, for offering this class. I first read about the class in the panorama, and I said, "Oh my God, that's something I really want to do." So I applied and got in, and what this class has done for me is enlightened me to a lot of things about this state that I live in. I'm not from here, I'm from North Carolina, but I've been living here for over 20 years. But I think I can say now that I know more about this state than I do about my home state. But the other thing that this class has done for me, and I think maybe some of you all have heard other people say this tonight, is that the things that I learned and heard made me angry. Made me angry, and it hurt me. But it didn't leave me without hope. Because when I see somebody like you, Brett, who have been in the social justice realm for all these years, and you haven't given up yet, so I shouldn't give up either. So I just want to thank you all for the opportunity to be here and to learn. And it's just so much going on in the world, with this Supreme Court cases and everything, and it's you don't know what to do, but we have things that we can do, and we will do. So I just want to say thank you.
Sounds like we need a North Carolina equivalent of the Modjeska Simkins School pretty soon as well.
Yeah.
But again, I'm pleased, before we go on, I'm pleased to hear these accounts, especially from folks who are not from South Carolina, because it really brings home just how important this school is. I've talked to many folks over the years who are from the state, who've taken the school, and those who are not from the state. And for each and every person, it seems that it has been a true eye-opening experience. So I'm very, very happy to hear that. Now, up next, we have Brenda Preston.
Good evening.
I'm honored to be here. I'm a California native and Oakland, California. And so this deep dive into the true history of enslavement, of how things happen and why they happen is just overwhelming to me. I want to be a part of the missing voter project and the monument project. And I am thankful to you, Dr. Green, for your excellent presentation of the information. To you, Brett and Becky, for the work that you've done. We continue to look for the truth, to search for the truth, because the truth is what will make you come out and do the work that needs to be done. I hope to see you all in many circles of people with like minds doing the work for freedom.
All right, up next is Cecil Rigby. Come on up, Cecil.
Hi, everybody. My name is Cecil. What's in the name, Mr. Lackey? Cecil means the blind one from the Latin. And I've been a blind South Carolinian almost my entire life. It's only been the last couple of years that I've been given the opportunity through this school and through some care of individuals, friends where I grew up near Greenville, to be able to open my eyes some. I'm grateful for the knowledge that's been given, Brett, Dr. Green, Becky, Mr. Frazier. One of the reasons I'm here, I read the book about the travels around, living in the slave houses and things, and I just, wow. There's so much I don't know, and like some others made me really angry. But I do have one thing that I've got a little bit negative. Y'all kind of kept me today from a certain little cult rally up in Pickens. And I just got 2 words to say to you about that. Thank you.
Cecil mentioned blind South Carolinian that helps explain traffic, but I digress. Okay, up next is Sabrina Ruth.
Hello. I'm also a South Carolinian. I'm originally from Fort Mill, South Carolina, and I now live in Rockville. I went to school at Furman in Greenville, so I've been in South Carolina the majority of the time. I've been most recently involved in reproductive rights work, just because that has felt, super pressing to me. But what I really wanted to do when I applied to the school was to learn more about, of course, South Carolina history, but also just organizing in the state in general. I think it's really easy to get blinders and only really be focused on things that are happening today. And I didn't have a lot of perspective about past organizing history within the state. So to know that it's all been, you can see everything that's happened across, a century more in organizing history in the state. And to be able to put that into context with the type of work that I'm doing with the organizations that I do work with. I'll say really quickly in terms of people with the worst last names, I feel like I might have a lot of people beat in here. This has been a lot of fun. I've learned a lot. I think the readings in particular really put things in a good perspective for me. So thank you.
Up next is Fidessa Small.
Hello, everyone. I am from a little town called Burgess, South Carolina. And so this has been such a great opportunity for me because since I was born, grassroots advocacy and just organizing has been in my blood. I carry the last name Smalls. You Robert Smalls, that's my ancestor. So my family has really been deep into this since I can remember. I remember being like 2 years old and my granddad like, let's go get some people sign this petition. I'm like, so this has just been a really great opportunity, and the Modjeska School has really re-energized the fire that was in me. Being from Horry County, I was really, during high school, I did a lot in politics, and I had a lot of empty promises come from, I'm gonna name names, Tom Rice and Tim Scott. They promised me some things as a young person who was really involved, and they didn't deliver. And it really made me like realize that I'm doing all of this, and people are telling me you're too young to get involved, but there were still people delivering these empty promises. So I got really hurt and scarred by that. And then my granddad, who was my biggest supporter and fan and making sure that I'm really involved with organizing, he passed away. So that hurt then. And then when Emmanuel and I, Reverend Pickney was a really close mentor for me. That hurt really bad too. And I remember when I was 16, I talked to Gilda because I told her, I was like, I want to be the first Black woman U.S. senator from South Carolina. She's like, you got this, you got this. And so that's always been like, so when I saw her here, I was like, oh my goodness, the connections. But it's just really, I had a lot of things that hurt. And so I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. And so the Modjeska School really like re-energized and refueled me. And it's like, okay, let's get back out there. So I have a 5-year plan now. So I'm going to work for Tony You need it though. So I'm really thankful and glad of everything that I've learned and have been taught here.
And when you run for the Senate, let us know. All right. And I think, by the way, I just want to point out too that it's a reminder of how there are so many folks in this state who have either direct or indirect connections to the men and women we talk about in this course. So again, in South Carolina, history is right around the corner.
Yeah.
You know, no matter where you are in the state. Speaking of which, the Simkins house is right around the corner. All right, up next is Marla Sullivan.
Hi.
Hi.
First of all, I'd like to thank Alan Sattler and Keith Thomas Gray Sr. that allowed me to take this course and told me about it. And I would say that I most want to get involved with, are we still doing the fair maps or is that not going on now?
It won't stop until it's over. And
it ain't over yet. Okay.
It's a thing that has to be, it's an iron that has to be struck at the right time.
Okay.
The 4-year cycle thing is complicated, but we'll bring it up again.
Okay. And not only that, but of course, the missing voter project I'm interested in. I grew up in Kansas. So South Carolina history was like completely new to me. And I not only thank you, Dr. Green, but also you, Brett and Becky, for what all you've done. And Modjeska, of course, we can't forget about her because we wouldn't be here without her. And everyone that makes an effort to try to make this world a better place, I really appreciate it. So we can't quit. I know I was very discouraged yesterday and the day before about the Supreme Court, like everybody else. We can't stop fighting,
No,
period.
no.
So thank you very much.
Okay, up next, leading to the podium is Alona Sunday.
Well, hello, everyone. I will not be running for any office anytime soon, but I promise that I will work very hard for any of you that choose to do that. I am here because I was invited or told about the Simkins School by a past graduate. So I am really planning on paying that forward. I retired from teaching school a year ago, so I'm still in touch with many of my colleagues. And now they all know about the Simkins School, so I hope they take me up on my invitation. We were talking just recently about the Supreme Court decisions, and we were talking about Justice Jackson's dissenting opinion on the affirmative action case. And being retired, I have the time to read it in its entirety. So I was encouraging them to read it as well. I said, it's really, really worth your time. But in the process of reading that, Dr. Green, you might appreciate this. I thought to myself, how shameful it is that Justice Jackson had to remind her fellow justices about the history of our nation. You know, she was like lecturing them, and I thought, how embarrassing for them that she has to remind them of this. So I think this class has inspired me to continue to do my part. I'm reminded of all the work that came before me. I have 2 grown daughters, and I certainly want to be able to look them in the face and tell them I did my part. I tried my best to preserve their reproductive rights and many other things. I do work with Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense. So I will continue with that work, and we are anxiously awaiting the next Supreme Court decision on domestic abusers and their access to guns and gun ownership. So I appreciate being here and all of you, and I'm excited to move forward.
Okay, now I did see Frederica Williamson on Zoom a moment ago. I think unfortunately she disappeared for the moment. Perhaps she'll rejoin us in a second.
I know that Stephen Haight is here and Russell Bannon is here. And so
Well, what I'm going to do now is go through the rest of the names on the list, and I do apologize for any folks who may have missed who are in the room. If we did miss you, please come on up and get your diploma as well. But I'll call those names out because, again, I don't want to forget about the rest of the folks who've been with us this semester. Abigail Amarty, Russell Bannon. Come on up, Russell.
I'm a little tired, so I'm going to do what we do in labor. It's a call and response, which is part of our history. So from the Union of Southern Service Workers, I have a great one. It goes, if we don't get it,
Shut it down.
if we don't get it,
Shut it down.
if we don't get it, shut it down. I got energy going. It's great to be here. I think I started this class in like 2009 before there was the Modjeska Simkins School. Just hanging out on the Justice porch with Brett, talking about South Carolina's history, and to see what this has become over that 15-year period, I guess, 10-year period. It's beautiful. You know, this is really, it's Dr. Green Appreciation Day. And it is. And we've done an amazing job building this project. We've got a PhD in resistance of South Carolinians. And that's our history. It's that of moral dissent. Every single right we've gotten, every single thing we've earned, we've fought, and people have died for it. And we honor them by continuing that fight.
That's right.
We may not win,
Nope.
but we can't just let their lie silence.
Keep on keeping on.
We have to stand up, we have to fight back, and that's why on the 12th, if we don't get it,
Shut it down.
And I do promise you that while we said if you don't get it, shut it down, you will get your t-shirts. I won't shut it down today. I'm gonna keep going to the name.
Move in a book.
Lavinia Blooper, please come on up.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Virginia Booth, I go by Lovey. When I decided to sign up for this class, and finding out that it was 3 months, I figured, no way am I gonna be able to attend a class every single week for that long. But I was learning so much and it was so interesting that the time went by so fast, it's hard to believe it. I realized from this class that I didn't know as much as I thought I knew about South Carolina history, our ancestors' history, human rights. So what I've taken away from this class, it's a lot.
Yeah.
You know, we grasped a lot of information these 3 months, but the bulk of it is embedded in my heart and in my mind so that I can share it with my family, especially my grandkids. I don't know about my children because they don't seem to be interested in family history. So I'll just try to share it with the grandkids and share it with others. I mentioned this class to several people. So I'm hoping that I can get someone enthused to take this class.
Yeah.
And I know I'll probably have to take it at least 2 more times. So learn a little more information. But I want to commend the presenters.
Yes.
Y'all did an excellent job.
Oh, yes.
And Brett, the snacks every week. Thank you for that too. Okay. I plan to participate or join as many organizations as I can. I'm a member of the Moms Demand Action.
Yeah.
So, but there's other.
Yeah.
I want to get involved with any group that's moving.
Yeah.
And it's about making and bringing change. I don't mind going to the State House. I've been down there many a times. I stand on Jeremy Street with signs and my kids and mama, is that you? Yes, it was. So I don't mind doing that. Racism is an illness. And we've got to do our utmost best to find a cure.
Yeah.
We've got to do that. And I'm going to end with this. I'm from rural Williamsburg County.
Oh, I know.
I'm a farmer. I know all about tobacco, corn, cotton, the mules, the cows, the pigs. I know all about that. But one great thing, my family, we were not sharecroppers.
All right.
We were not sharecroppers. My great grandfather bought 2 tracts of land.
Come on now. Yeah.
In the 1900s.
Yeah.
The family's still living on the land.
Yes.
Okay. There's property.
Yeah.
So even though I live in Columbia, if things get really too bad, I'm going back to the country. Get me a double wide or a single wide.
Bring on that lane.
That's right.
That's right.
And live happy ever after.
Yeah.
Because things are getting rough.
Yeah.
Things are really getting rough and tough. So an example of racism, I experienced lots of racism, you know, growing up down there, but there was a grocery store and it was ran by white people, of course. Blacks, we didn't have any grocery stores back there in the 60s or the 70s. And I believe I probably was in middle school, maybe the beginning of middle school. So we always go to this store to shop. So I went in the store one day and I bought some items. Can't remember what it was, but when I got outside, I counted my change. I said, this is not right. I went back into the store, approached the owner or maybe his son, and I said, look, you didn't give me the correct change. He said, get out of here. Don't you come back. So that just shows he thought that I couldn't count, or they thought that I couldn't count. And I didn't have a calculator either. So I want to thank you guys for everything that I've learned.
Thank you. Thank you.
Blake Carlton.
His mother was gonna accept for him, but I don't see Susan on the screen.
Okay. All right. As we mentioned before, Candace Dorr, again, she has the incredible story of giving birth right before the semester began. Was she able to make it? Or
No, she was
okay. Charlotta Felder, Anne Marie Finn, Stephen Haight. Stephen, come on up.
I'm not quite the speaker, all the we preceded me. I gotta thank Dr. Green, Brett and Becky, Chris Gardner. It's been a great experience. I didn't know that I didn't know so much, and I learned a lot. Well, thank you so much. You're fantastic. And I'm happy to have gotten to know some of you, and I'm delighted to be in your presence. So.
Yeah.
Nova Hodge. Kathleen Kent. Kathleen. All right. Teresa Miller. Teresa Miller. Teresa Milligan.
I will say she orchestrated an event for workers at the Waffle House today. So they have put the Garners Ferry Waffle House on notice. The demands are not met. They will be striking next week. So.
Well, that's good to hear. And you can hear that again. Teresa is out at the Waffle House doing some really serious organizing.
Let's recognize that Trevor Barton and his family are physically in the building.
Randall Reed, who I just want to say about Randall. I think he was a particularly compelling part of the class. And every week, he has something to add to the class, something to say about the class. But I think Randall really, like everyone else, brought a unique perspective to what the class is all about. And so as we go through the names, I want to recognize him as well. Chris Shepperton. And once again, I guess Frederica Williamson, she was on Zoom a moment ago, but she wasn't able to get back on. But those are the students, the graduating students in this year's Modjeska Simkins School class. Congratulations. Yeah, a special thanks to a couple of people who are also in the room with us. Of course, Chris Gardner, who I don't think gets enough credit for winning technology. Let me just say, working with Chris, after every class, I would go to him first and we talk about what went wrong with technology that particular evening. It was not the audio, it was the video, it wasn't the video, it was the audio, so on and so forth. But he's been with us the whole way, and without him, we really couldn't have got anything off that way. So I want to also thank Becky Robbins for her great work with the plan. Really cleaning up the videos, really not only that, but also I would argue in many ways being the soul of the Modjeska Simkins School. And that every week she reminded us of what the school was about, of what we were here for, and how no matter how hard things get, we have to keep a sense of joy and humanity in whatever we're doing. So again, Becky, thank you so much for your last but not least is Brett Burson, who will come up as well and give some remarks. But I just want to say to Brett that it's been great working with you these past few years. I got to know Brett even before I began working in the school. Some of you may know I came to Columbia in 2012 to start the PhD program at the University of South Carolina in history. And like many of you, I am not from South Carolina. I am actually from Georgia. And growing up in Augusta, Georgia, you learned a bit about South Carolina here and there. Sometimes for me, the state was simply the place via Aiken. We went to the shopping sometimes. Every 4 or 6 years, whatever, we get news about Strom Thurmond or what have you. And even as a kid growing up in Georgia, I knew Strom Thurmond was like 1 million years old, but I digress. But when I came to Columbia, you know, I was focused on my PhD program. I was focused on getting a degree and moving on. But as I lived in Columbia and got to know folks in the city of Columbia and around the state, I began to realize that I really didn't know a whole lot about South Carolina either. And what I've come to learn since then is that there are a lot of historians across the country who study civil rights, study human rights, who don't know much about the state either. I'll give you a very quick example. In 2018, Columbia hosted the Urban History Association Conference. It was the first time USC or the city had hosted a big history conference of that size in quite some time. Often, most conferences like that go to larger cities, towns, and we were fortunate to get it that particular year. I was asked to lead a tour of Lower Richland, South Carolina, and to talk a bit about the history of Lower Richland and the Land Commission here in South Carolina. We took a busload of historians down to Lower Richland, and none of them had heard of the Land Commission. None of them were aware of the history of Lower Richland. For most historians, this state is just a place where secession began. It's a place where good ideas go to die. But they weren't aware of the rich history of the state in terms of activism, protests, and social justice. Brings me to Brett. I would go to events in town. I would run into Brett Bursey. I was told by folks to go talk to Brett and go meet Brett. And I said, okay, sure, fine, I'll do that. I'm thinking about my dissertation, my exams, and so forth. But getting to know Brett, getting to know Becky, getting to know folks in the Progressive Network has not only been a privilege for me, but in some ways it feels like perhaps even more than my PhD, it's the true reason I'm here. And so I really want to thank Brett especially for all the hard work he's put in and for really being a true ally and friend here in South Carolina. So with that being said, Brett, come on.
Robert, I'm so pleased that we're not going to have to tell lies about you to keep leaving South Carolina. But I started the school discussions, and I think it was 2014 on my retirement plan. I'll be 75 this year, and I'm even older than Modjeska was when I met her. She kept working till she was 92, so I don't even think about that. But you are the people we're waiting on. And speaking, off your ass and into the street. And one of the things I want to share with you is that the reality of my life right now and focusing on the school, the academic, the educational work, doesn't mean I don't think we need to be in the street raising hell. Ms. Simkins said something, and I know she didn't use these words, but I'm going to paraphrase. You have to forgive me because after all these years, I kind of channel her energy. She says, if you're getting screwed, you better squeal or to think you enjoy it. Something's going wrong in this country, you got to be in the street. But if we're only in the street, we're a mob. We've got to have an army. We've got to have an army with a strategic approach and plan A, plan B, plan C, alternative plans, long-time plans. That's what the Progressive Network has been doing and working on since we started it with Cobb Hunter and Joe Neal, the first progressive legislator from South Carolina in 1992. When the Christian Coalition, that was the Tea Party on Jesus, when the Christian Coalition took over the House and the governor's office and they got the Senate. And ever since 2002, we have been a trifecta. It sounds like something out of ancient Rome. And it is kind of. These white guys, I'm old enough and aware enough to have watched the white supremacist party, which was the Democrats, morph within 20 years to being the Republicans. And so it's the same game. They got like a different tag, different hat. And the two parties that we have, they honestly seem to believe that predatory capitalism was part of the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence. And how I got to be who I am and got in trouble so early and have been willing to stay there with some understanding. You people are crazy. I mean, I was raised well, and I believed in the red and yellow, black and white, their pressure and sight, and all of the good stuff that we learned. And I don't see y'all practicing that. Not y'all, but them y'all. And that every time I tried to practice it, somebody beat me up and put me in jail. And what is human here is that there are people, ever since before this country started, Christmas addicts, ever since before this country started, that had that same sense of excitement about the opportunities to manifest what it is they came to Earth to do.
Right.
We don't have that training now. I mean, the Native people used to take time to go find their name. And I had a guru one time that he'd sit in a cave in the Himalayas for 3 months to find whatever he found. We don't do that in America. We don't find out and stop and think, why are we here? What did we come to the planet for? What did we come to learn? And I had the opportunity of spending a lot of time in jail and solitary confinement, doing a lot of thinking, and figured out why I'm here. And I'm here to help facilitate the transition of an age that has been driven by greed since they strung up Comrade Jesus on the cross. That's the 2,000 years that the Hindus call a yuga. If you were a Hindu, you would know that the yuga that we're coming out of was the Kali yuga, the goddess of materialism. The next yuga comes back around to the peasants, to the people that respect and love the land. And that's a 5,000-year-old theory. The more great religions and philosophies I studied, I see this commonality in them. We're here to facilitate the transition from this age that is willing to destroy the damn planet. That, whether it's chaos or community, is up to us. And Dr. King, we're working towards having our first retreat at Penn Center on the weekend of October 1. It's September 29, 30, October 1. October 1 is easy to remember. But that the Progressive Network started at Penn Center in 96.
Yeah.
I first became very aware of Penn Center as a senior or junior, I can't even remember which it was, driving out to Penn Center, not getting out of the car, but sitting right across the street from where Dr. King was speaking on a little podium to 1,000 people of color. I could see out the front windshield, the Klan burning across the sides of a phone pole. That was my first anecdote. Got involved with the Southern Student Organizing Committee, had meetings there. When we started GROW, we were a VISTA sponsor, Volunteers in Service to America. It was the Domestic Peace Corps. And during Jimmy Carter was, I will quote Ralph Nader because this is a really important thing to remember about the system we have. Ralph said about Jimmy, you can elect a straight man, but it's a crooked office. I thought Jimmy was a straight man. Jimmy appointed radical anti-war Vietnam veterans to head the Peace Corps and John Lewis to head VISTA. And so I had meetings with John Lewis, my former Congressman John Lewis, at VISTA, at Penn Center. And the government during that period of time when GROW was doing the Natural Guard and all the environmental work down at the bomb plant, we had 14 full-time people paid for by the federal government. That's what democracy should look like. But the idea that we don't all have that same sense within us of the righteousness that we want to see in our lives and other people's lives, it just gets beaten out of us. And it's kind of like the difference between a liberal and a radical. My guess is that the liberals kind of agree with us, but they don't really think you can get there because they don't have the strength of their convictions to do it anyway. And so that's what we have to have when we go out and hold a candle on the street for something. That's what we have to have when we go to the State House on next Wednesday or the 12th of July. And that there is a sense that if we keep doing things, something might change. But at the same time, we've got to have really good plans. And I do believe that that's what this progressive network has matured into over the 50 years that I've been doing this, standing on the shoulders of Simkins, who did it 50 years before me. She stood on the shoulders of her mother, who was an original member in 1905 with the boys, all with the same damn agenda. We started the school in her house at 2025 Marion Street, not knowing that 70 years before, she started a school at 2025 Marion Street. And we found it at Howard, the archives, the game plan from her school. And damn, look, they're looking to stop police brutality, they're looking for healthcare, they're looking for good jobs and education, and nothing has changed because nobody knew they had done that. They erase your history, they erase your memory. So that's what the school's about. And while I think it's really, really important for it to be here, it can't just be an educational and policy center without that army. I don't have time to organize the army and the think tank. But we need help. But I want to have a discussion at Penn Center in October. And I want to title it, Where Do We Go From Here? Chaos or Community? You may have heard that because that was King's last book, published posthumously, cleaned up and sanitized by the family. Dr. King was really stressed out and very unhappy. Dr. King was a socialist. I've seen things that he wrote to his wife before he was even, the national figure that were laying out his problems with capitalism. The speech that he gave to his staff at Penn Center, in the room that we founded the network in the room that we will be meeting in October, he gave a speech that was 32 pages long, typewritten, and talked about we've got to basically giving up on trying to reform capitalism. Capitalism is inherently needs people to exploit. Right. You can dress it up. And one of the wonderful things about liberals is you can trust a liberal to cut your throat, they'll grease the knife first. And so these are old tropes that I learned from the IWW that wrote them in the 1990s. The thing is that we can keep trying this reform thing, and we have to. That's the inside game. Cobb Hunter and I started the Progressive Caucus of the South Carolina Democratic Party in 2000. There was no caucus. We could control the floor of a convention because Cobb Hunter represents the largest constituent group within the Democratic Party, Black women. And we also represent the values of most of the people in the room. I don't want the damn corporation, Democratic Party Incorporated and their funders. I want the people in every county that look to them as the only option to make change. We've got to have a good inside job. I've been a delegate in every convention since 1978. I don't do it because I believe in the party. I believe in small d democracy. And I know that the people that are there do too. So we've got to do the really tiring and tedious crap and get up and go to your precinct meeting. And then you'll have to go to the county. And then you'll have to go to the state convention. And reform, take back the control of that entity that's driven by money and liberals that are trying to reform a system that they don't even believe in themselves. And so that's what that will point out to you. That's one of the reasons South Carolina is in such a mess, is the Republicans have more discipline because their agenda's so narrow. They don't get an agreement with supporting rich white guys, and that's a singular agenda. But they had the discipline to go to the precinct meetings, the county council, county conventions, and eventually take over the state Republican executive committee, which is now fighting amongst themselves. This is the opportunity that we've been waiting for with the existing systems to fund the two-party system to actually fix things. They're not, they can't. More and more people see that. We've got to be that alternative. So anyway, that's what we're working on. We need your help to continue doing it. And the pizza will be here in 15 minutes. We were gonna have this catered meal by our wonderful chef, Joe Turkley, who's been with us for a long time. But Joe had a problem and had an operation on his foot, wouldn't stay off his foot. 2 days ago, the doctor said, Joe, if you don't stay in bed, you're gonna cut your foot off. And so that's when we call mellow mushroom. And so we do want to appreciate the help that we've had. The Selene has been helping, and I see. Well, Mark Fox is somewhere in the room. He popped me a little bit here. And Mr. Fox is one of our co-chairs, and recognizing Marjorie Hammock, who's one of our. Somebody, Becky, who else? Don't I forget it?
Cecil.
The Cecil.
Cecil's been stepping up and,
The Cecil Rigby has, yes, he
yeah.
knows more about computers than I want to forget. Thank you, Cecil. And I do want to point out that as graduates, you should all have copies of Becky's books. This is the one on Modjeska, I think came out in 2014. She did one on Harriet Hancock, the mother of gay pride. Sarah Leverett, one of the first women lawyers in South Carolina. Every master had all, everybody studying under her. And this is a very powerful one about the Southern Negro Youth Congress, mostly about history being so completely erased that we have to rediscover it and relive it. And this is the latest and greatest, and it's harder because we're alive in this book, and it's harder to write about people that are alive than the ones that are dead. But this brings us current. Well, not really current. We still have another book. But this has some gross stuff in it. No more books. Becky said no more books. She's gonna do another book. But we do have books for people, and not the t-shirts.
And I'm selling, by the way, the books if you need them. Okay.
But not the t-shirts. We didn't get y'all giving us enough sizes. And so everyone will get a t-shirt, but we only have a limited supply today because people didn't respond in time for us to order t-shirts. So I responded. That's why we'll blame it on technology. I can blame most of my problems on technology.
Go ahead and invite people to pick up what's there.
Well, no, we should give people the size, but no, but somebody, Celine, will you help? We've got sizes, and somebody needs to keep them from being a ravaging horde and ripping the t-shirts apart.
They're organized according to size, but, and there aren't a lot of, I'm just gonna say there are a lot of mediums and some smalls, but not a whole lot of anything larger than, I mean, there are a few.
But where we are now, if we don't get your information to the sign-in sheet, if you didn't get a t-shirt, you put your size on there, you'll get a t-shirt. If you're in Zoom land, you'll get a t-shirt and a diploma if we have your size. But that's where we are, folks. I'm sorry, on a sad note, you're gonna have to work a little harder for your t-shirt. But there's a lot of work to be done. And I do trust that you'll stay around and shake hands and kiss babies and get to know people better. Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, get a photo of the draft.
Yeah, and I'm just about.
By the way, like you're a graduate of the school, you guys gotta get a photo done also for this. Sit tight on that. We'll get that done tomorrow.
Because I know Michael. I didn't know.
Everybody would like to learn a song that the network has done. It's kind of like our anthem. And we're going to do it as a